Welcome back to a special edition of the Willis Report Healthcare Showdown. On this third and final day of arguments, the Supreme Court may be ready to throw out more than just the insurance mandate in Obamacare. Many opponents of the law are already claiming victory. Earlier, I spoke with Republican Senator John Barrasso, also a physician, for his take on how things went. All right, Senator, AGs, the people at the center of this Obamacare movement, did they get what they wanted to today?
Well, the attorney generals have shown great courage and determination over the last 2 years to demand justice in the Supreme Court, and that's what we've seen the last couple of days. And specifically from each of the states, the mandates on Medicaid, all the extra money that the states are going to be made to pay, is something that the states know will bankrupt them. And for every penny they end up having to put into this is money that doesn't go for education and for highways, and that's why tuitions are going up at so many state schools. It's because of the mandates, the unfunded mandates on health care.
You've also talked about the impact on Medicare. Tell us about that.
Well, it's becoming harder under this health care law for seniors to get a doctor and for people on Medicaid to get to see a doctor. And the president continues to use the words coverage and care interchangeably, but they're very different. Just because you have a card doesn't mean that you're going to be able to get care. And I think the president should have been focused more on care. But what we know is, and you go to any town hall meeting and you ask people, do you think that the quality and availability of your care is going to go down? And they all say yes, that's what they believe, it's going to go down. And you ask, are you going to end up paying more for your health care? And they all believe they will. So these are broken promises by the president.
Broken promises for the president. You've also talked a lot from your perspective as a doctor about what this means. Do you feel like the government's getting in between the doctor and the patient with Obamacare?
Well, no one should be between a doctor and a patient, not a government bureaucrat or an insurance company bureaucrat. But I think this health care law is bad for patients. It's bad for providers, the nurses and the doctors who take care of those patients, and it's terrible for our taxpayers.
You know, this morning, Democratic pundits saying that, hey, you know, the failure of Obamacare, were it to be declared unconstitutional by the Supreme Court, might be the best thing that could happen to the president. What do you say?
Well, it would be the best thing that could happen for the country and for the patients of this country in terms of health care. What we're seeing in the Supreme Court is, you know, only less than 1 out of 4 Americans think they ought to uphold this law. 69% of Americans said they should repeal either part or all of this health care law, and that's because, remember, Nancy Pelosi said first you have to pass it before you get to find out what's in it. As more and more people find out what's in it, and the mandates that the government can go into your home and demand that you buy a government-approved product is something the American people don't believe in.
The American people don't believe it, and the Supreme Court justices themselves this week making clear they had serious questions about the individual mandate and whether it's constitutional. If this is struck down, what happens in the wake of that? Because the private sector has already been mobilizing for an Obamacare world.
There are things that we need to do to help make available for patients the care they need from the doctor they want at the cost they can afford. This isn't it, this Obama health care law. There's a few popular portions of that, and I think we ought to adopt those and pass them in a bipartisan way and work together in a bipartisan way to find out what is really in the best interest of patients as well as the providers of health care and the taxpayers.
What would you salvage?
Well, letting people under the age of 26 stay on their parents' insurance, I think, is very helpful to many families, but there is a cost to that, but it is helpful. I think people with pre-existing conditions, we need to find a way to help them. My wife's a breast cancer survivor. She's had 3 operations, been through chemotherapy twice. We need to make sure people with those pre-existing conditions can get coverage. So there are things that we need to do, but to overhaul all of health care in the country is not the way to do it.